This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday we worked on the configuration part, the customization of the contract account. Basically, these are the some of the settings what we have done in FICA, basically financial accounting, contract accounting. Now, essentially, the contract account becomes the accounting perspective for the business partner because when you create a business partner, unlike the customer master record, we cannot store any data pertaining to financial accounting, but we need this information so that eventually when we have to create the invoice, this account will come into the picture. The contract account is used while preparing the contract when the move-in happens, and using the contract account will be posting the invoices into FICA, and from FICA the data will be pushed to financial accounting. Now, most important data in the contract account will be the payment terms and then uh, tolerance group, what we have got, the clearing category, and also ISU bill form. Some of this data, we will see how to use it in the course of invoice preparation. Right now, in order to create a contract account, we need a BP and we need a contract account. So basically, we need a BP to create a contract account. So we will create one BP and then create the contract account. Now for the practice purpose, we can use same contract account. We'll be preparing so many move-ins and move-out. Instead of, go on preparing contract account, one contract account is enough. Basically for practice purpose, you can create one contract account. There is a standard ISU contract account, ISU contract account. And then when the budget billing will start, you can prepare three contract accounts, one for each of the budget billing procedure. Like we have got budget billing, partial, statistical, and payment plan. And then we'll create again three more contract accounts and use one more account, which is the collective bill account for collective billing invoices. So throughout the learning process, it is good enough if we have to manage the entire process of learning through these many accounts. Okay. So we'll create one contract account, and also for one BP, we can create more than one contract account having the reference of the one of the contract account. So we will create maybe three contract accounts straight away, and we keep using them throughout our contract preparation, billing, invoicing process. So first process is create a BP, and the business partner, as you know, has to be created in EMKK. Then only you should be able to create the contract account. So very quickly we'll create one business partner, FPP1. You can create as an individual or organization, select the person. So we created a BP, business partner. as individual 261. Now we'll create a contract account for BP. Go to business master data, contract account, create CAA1 to create. Transaction code is CAA1. Now, because you're in the session, PP is coming automatically. We'll select the contract account category 60. This is what we have configured. Select it. Then there are basically three screens here. One is the general data, payment and taxes, dunning and correspondence. Let me briefly explain about some of the important fields here. What we have. Some we may not have to configure. Some we have configured, and some we may or may not also use. Okay. So just try to understand some of these fields. The contract account name and account in legacy, these are pertaining to legacy system. That means prior to switching over to SAP, the business might have been using some other ERP wherein they have created the business partner and the account. So that particular information we can store here so that in initial stages of go live, what will happen, they may be using both the systems. That means they are going to enter the data in the legacy system as well as the ISU, and then they might transfer some data from the legacy system to the SAP. In that case, it becomes very easy to transfer the data by linking the legacy account with the account what we have created in the ISU. Also, initial stages, what happens, the customers will get used to the older account. Okay, so whenever they talk to the company or send a correspondence, they might still refer to the old account. In that case, you can very quickly find out the new account, what is pertaining to business partner. That's the reason SAP has given these fields, but these are optional. Okay. Now, account relationship is basically account holder. That means there, there is a relationship with the business partner and the contract account. As I mentioned earlier, technically speaking, for a business partner, you create a contract account. That particular business partner is basically holding the account. Okay. Now, tomorrow, if you maintain the same contract account to more than one business partner, then we have to use a relationship. That means, let us assume same contract account we have enabled for 3 business partners, but all the 3 business partners will not be holding the account. Only one of them will be having the account holder. The others can have a relationship. Like here, I had created tenant 1, tenant 2. Okay. So it is possible that we can make the contract account assigned to more than one business partner, but then we have to use some kind of relationship. Okay. But you cannot have the account held as account holder for more than one business partner. Only one business partner will hold the contract account. That is a basic, responsibility. We have created a tolerance group. We will select it, 6,000. Clearing category, we will select as standard offsetting. Now, actually, FICA will set up this clearing category in their configuration. The clearing category will enable us to define the clearing process. Okay, clearing means basically it's the FICA process. Whenever we enter the incoming payment, we can enter the incoming payment through various sources. We'll be configuring one of the incoming payment process in future, because at least one incoming payment should be set up. Why? Because we have to complete the process of meter reading to cash, right from creating meter reading order till the payment is entered and then transferred to financial accounting. We must run the process. And also, payment entry is important in certain process like the statistical budget billing or collective billing. Only when you enter the incoming payment, then you can understand the process. Okay. So we will implement one of the payment entry method, but when you enter the incoming payment, we are basically clearing the open item. Whenever you prepare invoice and post, a FICA document is posted, which is called open debit entry. You are debiting to contract account and it is open. In the sense, it has to be cleared by a incoming payment. Okay. But while clearing, we will do selection of the open items manually and then clear. But when the FICA will actually customize the clearing category and the clearing process, the system will automatically find out the open items and then give a clearing proposal. Okay, and accordingly, system will do the clearing. So for that purpose, we have got the clearing category, but we don't have to customize the clearing category because that is not our area of work. That will be done by the FICA consultant. So it is a mandatory field. So that's the reason I've given the clearing category. And then we will enter the currency in which the transactions will be posted to contract account. Let's say in our case, currency is going to be Indian rupees. And then payment terms. We have created a payment term as 6,000 immediate. And then ID for account determination. Here we have created a ID as 60. That is for the individual. Now we'll be working in the FICA integration using 60, how to set up the account determination. Okay. Basically, account determination is the most important integration between the ISU invoice and the FICA. That means that whenever you customize the billing master data, we have to integrate the rate with the FICA. Basically, in FICA, we'll be maintaining main transactions and sub transactions. The sub transactions have to be integrated in the rate definition, what will be working eventually in the billing master data. And using the ID for the account determination, we will set up the account determination. Now, one important difference between the customer account and the contract account is, in the case of ESD, when you create a customer master, the customer number itself will become an account, and it's a subledger account, and you'll be maintaining the company code data. But in the company code data, there are so many screens and fields, but one of the important field is reconciliation account. That means we have to maintain a reconciliation account in the customer master company data. So as per the rule, whenever you are posting anything to a subledger account, parallelly the amount should be also posted to the reconciliation account. But in the case of ESD, one customer account is assigned to only one reconciliation account. And the system doesn't have to search the reconciliation account. It will only search the accounts for the revenue accounts like price, discount, freight, tax. Such accounts are determined, which are P&L accounts. But the reconciliation account is fixed. But in case of ISU, when you create the contract account, we do not store any reconciliation account in the contract account master, because the reconciliation account also will vary. How it will vary and how we maintain that information, we will see. So reconciliation account is also determined, and revenue accounts also determined. Like when you do the billing process, various charges are calculated. Each charge will be a sub transaction value, a revenue value, like energy amount, standing energy amount, device rental value, or let's say any surcharge or discount. Okay, all these are basically called sub transactions, and each value will have to be posted to a particular GL account. So that account determination we will do, and the total amount of the invoice will have to be debited to the reconciliation account. So the reconciliation account also we have to determine. So we'll be setting up the account determination for the reconciliation account and the sub-transaction GL accounts. In both the cases, we'll be using the ID as the basis. Actually, three parameters: company code, ID, and the division. For these three parameters, we'll be setting up the account determination. So we will see how to do that in the future. And then here we are going to maintain a bill form. So we will use the standard bill form, SAP, that is ISU_bill. Basically, what is a bill form? It's a form layout design done by SAP already in the print workbench. In the standard SAP, the ABAP team will actually develop various forms using the form layout program. Basically, the forms are given utilized to print the correspondence information to customer. Like suppose if you prepare a invoice in your system, you have to print it and then send it to customer, or you have to send the invoice through a email attachment or send it as a iDoc. Okay, so in which form layout you will send the invoice? So in the actual project, the functional consultant will collect the information, how the regular invoices look like, and provide that information to the developers, ABAP team, and then they develop the G form layout programs. Okay. But one difference is in standard SAP, we use SC70, the form layout design. But whereas in ISU, the ABAPer will make use of the print workbench. It's a development platform for designing the form layouts. So various forms will come into picture, like a ISU invoice form layout, or it could be like a move-in document. When you prepare a move-in document, a welcome letter has to be printed. So that is a form layout. When you create a meter reading order, you have to print the meter reading order and give it to the meter reading person. That also has got its own form layout. So like this, various form layouts will come into picture. And each one of them is integrated in the process. So whenever you run the process, if any correspondence has to happen, we will print the form which has been designed in the form layout workbench. But here SAP has given a specimen like ISU underscore bill. That is what we're going to use to print the form layout. It will look something similar to this. Let me show you one of the form layout. So if you go to invoicing, execute invoicing, display the print document for the contract account, company code group 3000. So you have created these many invoices, 183, 186, 187. You can take any of the invoice and print format, review, print preview. So there will be a kind of a printout which you will do it and send it to consumer. This is only a sample design, okay? But actual design will vary according to business requirement. So the ABAP team will design this and then integrate in the contract account. At the moment, we're using the standard SAP form layout design, bill form, and then we go to payment and taxes. In payment and taxes, we will maintain the company code group and the standard company code. The standard company code was not part of the SAP earlier prior to ECC 5. We used to enter only the company code group. Basically, what is the significance of the company code group? The company code group may contain one or many company codes. So when you have a contract account maintained for a company code group, you can post invoice into any of the company codes assigned to company code group. Suppose the company code group is 6000 and this group has been assigned to three company codes, 6001, 6002 and 6003. So you can prepare invoice and post in any of these company codes because all these company codes have been assigned to the company code group. And also company code group is used in determination of the budget billing procedures, because what we saw yesterday, we've assigned the possible budget billing procedures to our company code group, which is 6000. And we can also set up the tax determination rules based on the company code group. Otherwise, it will happen independently for each company code, but you can also set up the tax determination process for the company code group itself. So by maintaining the company code group, here we can say the contract account can be posted into any of the company codes which are assigned to the group. But in our case, our company code group is having only one, what you call the company code. We will be posting it to that particular company code. So we will select 6000 and then standard company code. You can select one of the company code among the group as a standard company code. This is used for the on account payment. Okay. So what is the standard company code? We will find out. It is purely FICA perspective. Again, this was not there earlier, but it became from particular version, okay, which we have to use. Now, standard company code that is used for posting where no other company code can be determined uniquely. Payments on account can be posted in this particular company code. The following determination logic applies. If a company code can be determined on the basis of other data, for example, in a payment advice, the system checks whether the setting payment on account in standard company code was defined for this company code. If this is the case, the system will switch to standard company code. If no other data is available, the standard company code is selected. So in certain payment transaction, system will try to determine whether the particular company code in which clearing has to happen could be determined. But in case it could not be determined, it will use the standard company code in which we customize the on-account payment. On-account payment means we are receiving the payment and posting into a standard company code, but there won't be any immediate clearing. So subsequently, we do the clearing and then transfer the incoming payment to the actual company code in which the clearing has to happen. Okay. So this is a FICA perspective. Then we can nominate one of the standard company code. But in the standard company code, they will customize the on-account payment. Okay. So for that purpose, the standard company code also is maintained. And then in FICA, they will customize incoming payment method. Right now, you see here, there's no value available here. Basically, there are two types of payments, what you can do in SAP in general, ISU. One is processing the incoming payments as per the customer's initiative. That means once you send the invoice to the contract account holder, the account holder will have to make an effort to make the payment. Okay. They can do the walk-in payments. They can go to the cash desk counters where they can physically go and then visit the cash counter and then provide the invoice and then submit the payment. So online payment entry will happen and open item will be cleared. Like our e-Seva centers in Andhra Pradesh, we go to the counter and then say this is our invoice, and they will check the what is the open item balance and we make the payment. And then the clearing will happen. The account is immediately credited. Okay. We can pay the incoming payment at the cash counter by using the cash payment, or you can deposit a check if check is acceptable, or you can use a credit card, and based on this you can make the payment. But you can also make the payment by visiting what you call a website, where the company has given a website and then you access your account and the receivable and make a incoming payment through the net banking facility or credit card. So there the payment is basically being given, okay, from the contract account holder initiating the program. Okay, that means unless they do this, payment entry will not happen. Okay, there's another process which is called basically the company's initiative. Okay, in company's initiative they will run what is called payment run. Okay, so payment run will happen for the particular incoming payment method like a direct debit or bank transfer. The direct debit is used only if you're using the supply chain, financial supply chain management. Basically, direct debit means the customer has made an agreement through the bank. They are willing to accept the direct debit. So whenever you prepare the invoice, we send the invoice details, the due amounts in a particular format to the bank, and the bank will deduct the amount from the contract account's balance and send the payment directly to utility company. That means actually you do the payment run so that a clearing will happen for the account and then send the direct debit information to the bank. And then it will debit and then confirm the amount has been paid. Okay. So that is called direct debit. Or you can also go for bank transfer. That means the customer will say the amount will be transferred from the bank. We have to send the invoice to the bank, and then bank will send the payment details to the utility company. Or they can also nominate a debit card. So every month you debit my card and then the payment will be realized. So these are called payment methods. So incoming payment methods are customized by FICA, and then accordingly we can select the possible incoming payment method. But for certain incoming payment method like the bank transfer or direct debit, the bank information has to be maintained. So the bank information is determined from the business partner. So if we see here, we can find out the BP has been maintained with the bank, and that we can copy it here. So the information will copy from the business partner into contract account. Similarly, you can also maintain the outgoing payments method. Outgoing payment methods will be used for sending the refund amounts to customer accounts, contract accounts, or if the contract account is having a security deposit with a utility company. Once the period is completed, the company can use either the adjusting the security deposit with the open item clearing, or they can refund the amount back to the contract account. Okay. So in such cases, the outgoing payment methods are also customized, and then according to the method defined, we can maintain the outgoing payment method here. Okay. But these are all done through the FICA, and we are not doing that here because this is the work of FICA. But we'll see how to enter the incoming payment through the cash desk. Okay. Then we go to the dunning and correspondence. Then here we have to maintain a dunning procedure. Okay. Dunning procedure will take care of the dunning activity which keeps happening in the company on a regular basis. The basic agenda of dunning is to find out what are the open items which have crossed the due date and the amount has not been received. In such cases, when the dunning will happen, the system will determine how much is the amount, and then that amount has to be now collected from the customer. So depending on the dunning level, particular dunning activities will happen, like sending a letter to contract account saying that we have not received the payment and it has to be made immediately. So this keeps happening in different levels. Okay, first level letter, then second is like a legal notice, third is the intimation that the meter will be disconnected. Okay, so all these are controlled through a dunning procedure. Dunning procedure, dunning level, dunning activity. So these are the activities what customized by the FICA consultant. But it is a mandatory field we have to maintain. Okay, that's the reason we are maintaining here. So these are the kind of information what we can store in the contract account, and then we will save it. So we have created a contract account 5301. Whenever you create a contract account for a particular category, you can use it as a template, as a reference to create very quickly other contract accounts. Now, technically speaking, one contract account is good enough to create any number of contracts. Suppose a business partner is going to stay in a particular premise, and the premise has got 3 connections, that is electricity, water, and gas. Now, when the move-in will happen, we will do the move-in for all the 3 division connections. There will be 3 installation data in the technical master data, and for each installation, it will create one contract. But for creating the contract, the contract account is a must. Okay. So when the contracts are created in the background during the move-in, the contract will become the basis on which we start, preparing our meter reading, billing, and then invoicing. Technically speaking, one account you can use it for preparing the n number of contracts. Okay, but sometimes what happens, contract to contract, the accounting requirements may change. For instance, for the electricity contract, payment terms are immediately. Water contracts permit payment with a credit for 30 days, or gas contracts are available with the budget billing procedures. Okay, so in order to match the billing and invoicing requirements for each and every contract, we can have the contract account maintained with the budget billing procedure or different payment terms. Okay, that means account to account there's a difference, and that difference is essential to match the requirements of posting for the particular contract. Okay, so in such cases we can go for what we call the multiple contract accounts for the business partner. Now, entire the division concept is connected to the contract. That means The contract when you prepare, it is for a particular division, and the billing also will happen for the particular contract individually. Okay. That means suppose if the business partner is having a contract account and has got multiple contracts, each of the contract has to be billed separately. We cannot club the billing documents. The electricity contract has to be billed separately, water has to be billed separately, gas has to be billed separately. But when it comes to invoicing, the division specific will not matter. We are preparing the invoice for the contract account. So we have the option of preparing the invoice individually for each contract, that is billing document to invoicing. Individually it will happen. But if business wants, they can also go for the joint invoicing. Joint invoicing means we can have the billing documents merged into one single invoice, as long as all the billing documents have the same contract account. Okay, so that's the basic concept here. That means joint invoicing will help us to combine all the three billing documents into one single invoice and then post it to contract account. So billing wise, it is all division specific, contract specific, but invoicing is specific to only the contract account itself. And you can do individual invoices or the joint invoicing. Now we have got a contract account. You can create as many contract accounts very quickly with reference to the same contract account. And if you want, you can change the certain settings. For example, this particular account will permit us to have the payment term, which is basically 6001. And then we can have a different clearing category. Let's say Jet 500, and then payment and taxes, dunning. You can assign some different dunning procedure. So like that, you can vary the data from one account to another account. So that is the basic concept here. And now we will save it. Now we will assign here, save it. And previous contract account 5301 also we will assign one of the existing customization of the clearing category, so that we can see how we can make the automatic proposal for the clearing. So let me enter this. It is already customized, and then save it. Dunning and correspondence Z1. You'll maintain ZA and then save it. And 5301 is the contract account. Tolerance to is there, and here also you'll maintain ZA, and then dunning. You can have the dunning procedure ZA and then save it. When you prepare the contract account, you can also make use of this particular data what we have. Although it is not customized for us, we can make use of it. It is an existing FICA setting. We can use it in the future. Okay. So essentially, we have created the contract account for a business partner. You can use it as a template to create more than one contract account for the business partner. Okay. So business partner, contract account. These are the two very important master data records what we have to maintain. And then the contract itself, we don't have to create upfront. The contract is something what is created by the system when the move-in will happen. For instance, when the move-in is recorded, we enter basically two important information. What is the date of move-in when the move-in is happening, for which contract account we are doing the move-in, and what is the installation or the premise. Okay. That means you are integrating the business master data with the technical master data, because contract account and BP, they come from the business master data, and premise and installation, this data will come from the installation technical master data. So using these two, the system will create a contract automatically in the background. So when you save the move-in document, a contract is prepared and the contract is assigned to the specific installation. For instance, when you have an installation created in technical master data corresponding to the installation, it will automatically prepare the contract when the move-in will happen. For example, here we can see the installation is 152. What is this installation? 152. We will see. Right now it is not occupied. Actually there was occupied, but subsequently a move out has happened. Okay, that's the reason we cannot see. So let us take division 30 and select any other installation. So here we can see there is a contract which is 158. But this contract we don't have to create. It was created automatically in the background when the move-in was happened. So this contract will remain in effect as long as the business partner is staying in that particular premise. But when the move out will happen, the contract will expire. That means the contract will be basically expiring. That means contract data will be there in the system, but it will end. So contract will have a start date and end date. Start date is from the what you call the move-in process, and the move-on document will have the what you call ending of the contract. Okay. So we will see how the contract will be created. So upfront we can create only two, BP and the contract account. And the contract itself will be created in the background when the move-in process will happen. Okay. So after finishing the business master data, we now move forward into the next level of master data, which is called the technical master data. Now, technical master data is basically related to the field, and it is something pertaining to the point of consumption, where the consumption is happening. So basically, in technical master data, we identify where the consumption is happening and for whom that consumption is happening, and also how that consumption is getting measured. Okay, so it is very important from the business point of view. This information should be available for our day-to-day process. Okay, where you do meter reading, billing, etc. Okay, so that aspect of the business process will essentially come from the technical master data. Now in SAP ISU, we have 4 levels of technical master data. There are 4 important parameters what we need to maintain. Okay, these are like 4 pillars of the technical master data which we have to maintain. So the 4 important objects in the technical master data are connection object, premise, device location, and installation. So these are the 4 important master data we have to compulsorily maintain. But apart from this, we also can maintain what is called POD, the point of delivery. The point of delivery is required as a very important master data when we are working with EDM, that is basically energy data management. So wherever we are going to use the smart meter, then essentially we have to use the point of delivery. Without point of delivery, we cannot do the smart meter reading billing. Okay, so we will see how to use POD in the future when you start working with the smart meter. Now, the 6th master data what we have is connection. Although connection is mentioned here as the master data in technical master data, it is not having any ISU data. That means out of these 6 objects what we see, the connection object, premise, device location, installation, POD, they all have the ISU data. But connection is purely a plant maintenance master data. It doesn't have any ISU data. So basically the connection refers to a equipment master record, which is the general equipment master record, what we maintain. So the same equipment master record we can also maintain in the plant maintenance directly. So, but since it is something pertaining to the technical aspect of the utility billing or service, the particular equipment is created in the ISU technical master data as a connection. So basically here when you say connection, it is a general equipment master record what we maintain in PM module. This equipment will not have any ISU data. So it is just a general equipment master, but we can also call it as a non-ISU equipment. We can call it as non-ISU equipment. For example, in every building, we have a transformer which is installed. This transformer is basically helping us to bring the electricity into the building. That means from the grid lines which are running in the street, we are taking the connection, and these grid lines are essentially carrying electricity at a very high voltage, but we need the electricity supply at a lower voltage as per the building requirements. So we basically take the connection from the grid line, bring to a step down transformer, which will reduce the voltage and then supply to the meter room. And from the meter room, the connections will go to individual premise. Okay. So this particular transformer is treated as an equipment. Basically, what is equipment? Equipment is a physical material which will act like a machine. And instead of calling it as a machine, we have a technical name as equipment. Okay. So equipment is the most important master data what we maintain in PM module. Okay. In plant maintenance module, we have three very important objects. One is the maintenance plant, and then we have functional location, and then equipment. So what are these three? We will see in future when you start working on the equipment. But these equipments, what you see here, these are the non-ISU equipment. They don't have any ISU data. These are the general equipment. But in future, we'll be also working with the special category equipment, which are called ISU equipment. The ISU equipments are basically called in SAP as devices. Okay. So we are differentiating the general equipments and the ISU equipments with the terminology devices. The transformer what we have in the building is not a device. It is treated as a general equipment. But when you have electricity meter, water meter, gas meters, they are also equipments only. But apart from having the data of a general equipment, they will have the data pertaining to ISU. So that's the reason ISU device is a ISU equipment, a special category equipment what we'll maintain. But how to install it, we will see. How to install general equipment and how to install the devices. We will see it in the system later on. So equipment, although connection is also a master data, what we maintained in technical master data, it is not actually having any ISU data. It happens to be a general equipment what we maintain in plant maintenance. Now, that leaves us at the moment, we will focus on the four important master data parameters: connection object, premise, device location, and the installation. Okay. So basically connection object, premise, device location, and installation. Now, what are these four? We will try to understand in the physical concept. So there is a picture which is called ISU house. Okay. You can refer to this. So if you go to in the web, SAP ISU house, I think you might have seen this before. So select ISU house. Now this will completely explain the concept of the technical master data. We can see here connection object and then premise, device location, and the installation. Now we have the technical names, but what is the physical terminology? We'll try to find out. Now, out of these four objects, two objects are dual objects. They have the ISU data as well as the plant maintenance. Now, for instance, if we take the connection object and device location, these are dual objects. They are data pertaining to ISU, but also they are also pertaining to functional locations in plant maintenance. That means these are the objects having data in two modules, ISU module and the plant maintenance. Now, when we create upfront the devices. When you create in the ISU, upfront you create a connection object and the our device location. Okay, it's not device, it's a device location. So when you create the objects in system, you create a connection object and a device location. Okay, now we are creating upfront as connection object and device location, but when you save it, it will also create as a functional location in the system. That means every connection object belongs to a functional location in the plant maintenance, and every device location corresponds to a functional location in the plant maintenance. But what is the necessity to have them in the plant maintenance, and also what is the role of functional location? So we will try to understand. That means basically there is a upfront activity what you create as the connection object and device location, but they are immediately created as functional location in a particular maintenance plant. And functional location is essential to record the equipment installation. Okay. So because of the equipment installation only, functional location is required. But then why is that we are creating connection object and device location as functional location? Indirectly, it means we are going to install some equipment. But then what kind of equipments we can install? Okay, that is basically determined based the category of the functional location that we will see in detail. Okay, so coming back to the picture, what we have here, this will explain the concept. The connection object is an object which receives a connection. Okay, that means it is receiving the connection of electricity, it is receiving the connection of gas, it is receiving the connection of water. Okay, so basically a connection object happens to be a building which receives the basically utility connection like electricity, water, and gas. For instance, we have got an apartment building, and that apartment building is connected to the grid line, and from the grid line we are taking the connection and providing the electricity to the entire building. Okay, so that particular building is existing in the postal regional structure. That means when you create a connection object, we enter what is the city, what is the street, what is the house number, what is the postal code. That means connection object is a physical object. It's a real object. It is something like a apartment building where the connection has been given by the electricity department, or it is a building to which a water pipeline has been connected so that water can be supplied, and also there could be sewage water pipes which will carry the wastewater, or it could be a building where we have laid the pipes for the gas supply, the cooking gas supply. Okay, so connection object is basically building that is connected to the grid line of the supply. Now it can be an apartment building, it can be a commercial building, it can be a factory, it can be like a construction site, an airport, a hospital, or a anything that is being receiving the supply from the supply line. That happens to be the connection object in the system. Okay. Now after creating connection object, where exactly consumption is happening? Okay. Although we are supplying the electricity to the whole building, okay, every month who is making the payment? Okay, so that payment is made by the consumption what is happening in an enclosed spatial arrangement in the connection object, and that is what is called as a premise. Okay, suppose in this particular connection object there is apartment number one, apartment number one, apartment number two, apartment number three. Okay, so each of these apartment is essentially a premise. Okay, premise is the part of connection object. It does not exist independently. The premise is only created when you have the connection object. That means we cannot independently create a premise. The premise is something what to create with reference to a connection object. One connection object can have one or many multiple premises, and each premise is basically used as a premise entry. When the move-in will happen, we record the move-in for a particular premise. Now, in this particular scenario, the apartment number one is a premise, and this premise is a part of the connection object. Similarly, if you have a office space, a building, commercial building, which is having fours of, operation, each floor is having 4 offices. Okay, so each of these offices is basically called as a premise. Okay, and premise will have the moving document and the contract created. Now, what is device location? It is a location within the connection object where you technically install the devices, what you call technical installation of devices. That means every premise is doing the consumption of electricity, so you need a meter for that. It should be electricity meter. So that meter is located within the building in a particular location, and that is called as device location. But why is that we are creating a separate location here? Why not we connect the device directly to the connection object? Because every object what you create like a connection object or device location will act as a functional location in the system. Okay, whenever you want to install devices, they are basically what you call the equipments what we are creating, but in order to install them we require the functional location. Okay, so connection object is also functional location, device location also is a functional location. But why there are two separate functional locations? We will understand. But at this point of time, you can say all the general equipments like transformer, cables, urging station, okay, these are all something installed in the connection object acting as a functional location. Whereas devices like electricity meters, water meter, gas meters, such devices are installed in device location. That means there is a particular category of the functional location which can allow us to install particular type of equipment. Okay. So device location is a location acting as a functional location within the connection object will permit us to install what are called devices, the special category ISU equipment. Okay. So premise is basically a enclosed spatial arrangement in the connection object where the consumption is happening. Okay. Now in this case, the particular premise is apartment number 1. It has got basically 3 connections, that is electricity, water and gas. So for each connection, there should be an installation data. That means the apartment itself is real object, connection object is real object. It exists on the map. It's a postal region structure. Premise is anyway a part of connection object, so that is also real. And a device location is also a real object. It is something like a meter room in the ground floor or in the basement or in the first floor where we are putting all the devices. But the fourth master data, what you call as technical installation, is not a real object in the sense it is a kind of a data modeling what you're using in the system. So basically, the installation is a division specific data what you maintain for each and every premise. Every premise will have one or many installations. So premise is divided into n number of installations according to division connection. Suppose the premise is having 3 connections, electricity, water and gas. So for each division specific connection, we are going to maintain one installation data. So here we can see the installation number 1 is basically pertaining to electricity. Installation number 2 is connected to premise for the gas, and installation number 2, this should be 3 actually, while naming it has been written wrongly. So installation 1 is for electricity, 2 is for gas, and 3 for water. So all these 3 installations are existing for the same premise what we have. And this installation is used for creating the contract when you prepare the move-in document. So that means you cannot prepare a contract unless you have installation. So when you do the move-in, you enter the premise, then it will determine the installation, and for it you are creating a contract. Or when you're doing the move-in, you can directly enter the installation. So for that installation, it will have a contract. So one premise can have multiple installations, and for each installation, we have multiple contracts. So that's why you can see here, premise number 1, that is apartment 1, it is having 3 installations, one each for electricity, gas and water. And for each of the installation, a contract has been prepared. And this contract was prepared when the move-in has happened. Okay. But electricity meter, gas meter, or water meter, where they are located? They are located in a particular device location. For example, here we can see electricity meter and gas meter, they have been put into device location hall. Okay. That means in each particular floor, we have got a hall where you have put the meters, and those meters are read periodically by the meter reading person. But the water meter has been put in the basement. Okay. So basically, water meters are not directly seen above the ground level. They will be pit below the ground level where the pipes are running, and there they have connected the water meter. And this pit will have a cover. You open the cover and then access the meter, which will show the display section from where you do the meter reading. Okay. So basically here the whole picture is called as ISU house because you can see all the 4 objects here. The connection object, the main building, premise is the part of connection object where the consumption is happening, and within the connection object we have one or many locations where you're going to install technically the devices, and for each premise you can have one or many what you call the installations maintained. So if you trace here, installation is the highest level data, you can say. That means it is the kind of a object where you integrate everything. Okay, you integrate business master data, technical master data, device management, billing master data, scheduling master data. All this data will go and sit in one single place. So installation is a data model specific to a division, which will help us to figure out how billing will happen for that installation, how the metering will happen, and also whatever processing of data we are doing, data is updated automatically in the installation. For example, if you go to any one of the installation and then say installation is 161, this installation was created for the premise number 139, and the premise number 139 has got a installation data maintained as 161, but it is pertaining to division 30, which is basically electricity. Okay, so premise is 139 and it has got installation data 161, but specific to this particular division. That means tomorrow the same premise can have multiple installations for each of the division what it has got the connection. Now, for this particular installation, a contract was created. This contract was created when the move-in has happened. And this particular installation has been connected to a device. The device here is basically electricity meter, which is identified by the device number, serial number, and the equipment number. So this part we'll see later. But now, this particular premise, what you see, 139, was created for a connection object 59. Okay, that means under the connection object 59, we can have n number of premises, and the address of the premise will come from the connection object address. This is the address where the building is located. So naturally, every premise in the building will have the same address. Now for 59 connection object, we might have created one or many device locations. So if you go to change mode and then find out, the connection object here is 59. So for 59, you will find one or many device location. 60 is one device location. 61 is another device location. 60 is a device location. We have made it as electricity meter room. That means although device location is not division specific, it doesn't say that unless you create it as a electricity device location, you cannot put the electricity meter. There is nothing of that sort. But for identification purpose, we are saying here 60 happens to be a device location where we are going to technically install all the electricity meters. Likewise, you may have a separate room where you may have water meters. Okay. So usually in the building, what happens, individual water meters may not be put, although they put it in that way in US and other countries. In India, for the whole building, we'll have only one meter. So the meter will record the consumption for the whole building. So the billing charges are put on the society itself, and society in turn will collect the amount from the individual apartment through the maintenance charges. Okay. So meter room is basically a device location, and in the device location we are going to install the devices. Now coming back to the installation what we saw just now, this is like the building block. Okay. Only when installation is there, then you can do meter reading and billing. There can be installations with the device or without device. Okay. For example, here there's a device, but there could be some installation where there's no device. For example, street light installation. For street lights billing, we don't have any meter. So we deploy some other methods for billing. So it may not be with the device. So installation may be with the device or may not be with the device, but installation is required to prepare the contract. And as and when you start doing meter reading and billing, the data will be updated in the installation. And the meter reading is controlled based on MR unit, which is a parameter we maintain in schedule master record. Okay, that means this will control periodically how the meter reading should happen, on which date every month meter reading should happen. Okay, because in ISU, meter reading and billing are scheduled activities. Okay, so every premise installation comes under meter reading activity on a particular date in every month. Okay, so that is controlled by the MR unit. And for the billing, we require the billing master data, which is called rate structure. Okay, So that's why when you start working now, we can create upfront connection object, device location, premise, but we cannot create installation because unless you have maintained the adequate master data for billing, we cannot create the billing master data. So this billing class, what we see here, and then rate categories, what you see here. You can see a specific rate category here, not many. That means it is specific to particular division. Okay. So all this data will come from the billing master data. So technical master data integrates the billing master data, device master data, and business master data. It is integrated with the business partner and the contract. And the system will keep updating all the information in the installation. For example, if you see here, we can see documents. So what are the billing documents prepared? What are the invoice prepared? They're all updated here. That means the billing period. The billing period is from 1st of October to 29th of October. For that billing period, a billing document was created, invoice were prepared. For the next end billing period, ending on 29/11, the billing document was 1309 and the invoice number is so and so. So basically, whatever activity you do with respect to metering and billing, the data is all updated into the installation. Also, it will update the metering results. Okay, like when the installation happened at the time, when the move-in happened, that time what was the meter reading? After 1 month, what is the meter reading? There is also control meter reading here. Okay, so whatever meter reading we are updating results into the installation, they will be updated here. Okay, so you can also see there is a place called load profile. Okay, when you're working in EDM, you'll be maintaining what are called synthetic profiles. These synthetic profiles can be considered as load profile. Whenever you don't have any smart meter, you can model the smart meter profile for a installation using the synthetic profile. Okay, so we will see this part in the future when you're working with the EDM. So we are saying there are four important objects here. One is the connection object, and then we have the premise, we have the installation and device location. So basically in terms of relationship, connection object is the starting point. For one connection object, we can create one or many premises. Now, if suppose there is an individual house, okay, that is a premise itself. That means there are no multiple premises, but we cannot create that individual home as a premise directly. We have to first create a connection object, then only you can create a premise. Okay. So connection object is essential because that is the one which is having the address actually. Okay. And that address is copied to n number of premises what we are creating. So connection object used as a reference to create the premises, and using the connection object we create the device location. But now for each premises you will have installations, one or many installation. Okay, each premise has multiple installations possible depending on the division. That means one premise is having electricity connection, water connection, gas connection. So each one of them will have installation, and for each installation there will be contract. Okay. This is how it will be. And under connection object, you can create one or many device locations. And connection object is ISU having, it is having ISU data, and also it is having the functional location data of the plant maintenance, whereas device location is also a ISU data and functional location. But whereas premise and installation are purely ISU data. Okay. So this is the overview of the technical master data. In the next session on Monday, we'll start working on the customization. Okay, how to customize these objects in IMG so that we can create them in the system. Okay, so we'll take it further in the next session on Monday. Is it okay? Shall we conclude today?
Okay.
Okay.